So hey everybody, I know it's been a while since I've made a video, and I've even had some people requesting that I make an intro video, which is so strange for me just because I didn't think anybody would ever actually watch this, I just thought it would just be me talking to a camera and just something for me to look back on, so that's really cool. And normally I would be like, yeah, I'll go ahead and make one right now, but my past few weeks have been so crazy. I feel like this takes more of a top priority, but I will get to it. Okay, so essentially, after grieving and everything after the miscarriage, it came down to the talk about when are we actually going to try again? Are we going to be that couple who waits a few months? Do we want to try again right away? Because when I had called my doctor's office, they essentially said that they could see me if I wanted them to, but it was so early on it wasn't really necessary. And so for me, I was like, I do want to start trying again because I want to have a baby. As painful as this was, I still really want a baby. And my husband still really wanted a baby, but for him, he felt like maybe we should wait a little while. And so we essentially just came to a compromise of we aren't actively going to try, but we're not going to prevent either. And so we were expecting, a few months before I got pregnant again, but nope, I was pregnant again this month. I found out on Valentine's Day, which is super exciting, and I made him a little Valentine and said I was pregnant in it, and it was like, it felt like hope again, but at the same time you're only so hopeful until it's like crippling fear, just because after you conceive, after you've had a miscarriage, nothing is the same. You're not that naive girl anymore. Like, now you are a woman who knows what could go wrong. And so I immediately called a doctor. I decided to go to a different doctor with this pregnancy just because I didn't want to have to wait in a waiting room for almost 2 hours every time I see my doctor, and only be there back there, for 5 minutes. It was just very impersonal. So I wanted to go to a smaller practice, basically. So I call this practice, and they're trying to get me an appointment set up for when they do the first checkup. And I explained, I just had a miscarriage. I got pregnant right afterwards, and they didn't want to go based on the day I miscarried, even though I read online that some doctors do. So they wanted me to come in for blood testing, which, that's great. Like, that makes me feel so much better. Like, please, let me come in for blood testing. Help me. Like, please, I want to keep this baby. And so I go in, and the nurse is kind of scrutinizing me for not getting my blood ever tested to make sure that my levels had completely dropped after my first miscarriage. But, I explained, I was like, well, my other doctor basically said there wasn't really a need to do that. And so... And doctors always do that thing where they're like, what doctor was that? And then you tell them the name, and they're going to have no idea who that is. I have never encountered a situation where a doctor has asked me, what doctor told you that? And they actually knew who the person was. Like, never. And even if they knew who it was, what are they going to do? Makes no sense. So she takes my blood levels. And of course there's that torture of having to wait a day to get my results. And, she calls me and she's like, I'm shocked that you even got a positive test because your levels are only at 18. And I was like, well, I took multiple tests. I took early response test. Hi, Jelly. I took multiple, first response, early detection tests. Like, they were all positive. And she was still being really pessimistic, though. She was like, well, this could just be leftover hormones from your past pregnancy. And so, of course, for the rest of the day, that's what I'm freaking out thinking about. But even since then, and letting it digest, the more I think about it, the more it doesn't make sense to me. Because if you watched one of my past videos about how I did miscarry, I found out I was going to miscarry a day before I actually started bleeding. I had a negative test at 5, actually, in that one day. And from then, I had taken tests. I had even been a crazy person and taken a test like a week after I started bleeding, and the next week, because in my mind I still had like this hope, like, some women bleed and some women's hormones aren't as high, so it's gonna be okay, like, it'll be fine, like, I'm still pregnant maybe, and every time it was a straight negative. Negative, negative, negative. And the only time I got a positive was the start of Valentine's Day, which was almost a month after I had miscarried. So it doesn't make sense to me that not only did I not get a negative test for over 3 weeks, that I had no symptoms. Like, my symptoms went away. And of course, when I was bleeding, I had cramps and whatever else, but that's just part of the miscarriage, you know. But afterwards, my boobs didn't hurt anymore. I wasn't thirsty all the time. I wasn't hungry all the time. And even this cycle, I specifically ordered ovulation tests, not to be like, hey honey, it's 5 o'clock. More so because I read that, you know, after you miscarry, you either don't ovulate or you can ovulate for up to like 4 weeks apparently. And so I just wanted to know what my body was doing, and my body seemed to be right on track for the most part. And so the whole thing just doesn't make sense to me. It still doesn't. I was supposed to go back this past Monday to get more blood work done, but here in Texas, like, the roads were like iced over. I was literally trapped in my house for like 4 days, which is crazy because it's Texas and it's probably not that bad to people who live in the north at all. But yeah, but unfortunately on Sunday I started to bleed. And it wasn't just a little, and there were a lot of clots, and I started to be in a lot of pain again, and I lost this baby too. This was baby number 2, because even when I go back in there, because I know I'll have to go back to them and get my levels tested again to make sure they're at 0, which I'm planning on doing tomorrow, they may tell me that it was leftover hormones, but I know this was a second baby. I know I was pregnant again. The first time I was pregnant, I lost my baby at 4 weeks and 4 days. This time it was 4 weeks and 5 days. So I guess you can say that's some progress. But of course that date's just going off the day when I first started bleeding, because they never could pinpoint how far along I was. And I think my levels were even progressing the first time I even got the test, since my HCG was only at 18. And it sucks. It sucks so much. I don't know what's wrong with my body. I don't know why I can't get past this point. This time around I was drinking more water, I was sleeping more, I was eating more healthily. Like, I don't know. And right now it's kind of up in the air. I don't know whether we are going to start trying again right away. I don't know if the doctor's office is going to tell us we need to wait. But I'm really nervous because even when we first started trying to get pregnant, we had this feeling it was going to take us a long time to get there. And it definitely feels like a long time, even though it's only been 3 months, which is still a long time, but for some people, you know, that's nothing. But yeah, so that is my current update. Not sure what's going on with my body. I was recommended to start taking a baby aspirin every day just in case I had some unknown clotting disorder. But that clearly didn't help. But I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to continue to take my prenatal vitamins. And hopefully tomorrow I'll have some answers about what I'm supposed to do next. But like I said, it's been a crazy few days. Not few days, sorry. It's been like a week. But it just sucks. I don't know what's wrong. But I'm wishing the rest of you the best. Positive thoughts. You know, you have to enjoy each pregnancy for what it is. You can't just push it off and be miserable the whole time. And now I have 2 angels in heaven. But yeah, so I'll see you all next time. I am so sorry that these butt heads, you're just playing the whole time, huh? Yeah. Alright guys, I'll see you next week.